Hello everyone and welcome to Sinful Gaming. Today we're going to be chatting about the Sons of Behemat and Aelgaz the Gargants as a part of that. And what I hope to see from the faction, what I think we might see, and just talk a little bit about what we know. Let's do some wish listing, I guess, in a way. But sort of reasoned wish listing is what I like to think of it. So, you can find on the channel I did a video about who is Bahamut. In short, he's a god beast that was during Realmgate Wars and he's the father of all giants. Now, also during that Realmgate War, we got a battalion called the Sons of Behemat, which was a battalion, and that's where we're sort of putting all the links together. And I've got the picture up that you can see is the picture in the book. And so we're going off that we're going to be getting a giant army called Sons of Behemat. Now this might be entirely wrong, it might be something entirely different, but I think we're on a pretty solid ground on what we're looking at here. So, Sons of Behemat. It's going to be an army of all giants. Well, potentially maybe there might be something else, but giants are going to be the predominant feature of it. And what can we expect? Now, honestly, do we expect new kits with this release? I actually don't. I have my own suspicions on how I think they might progress with this idea. And that's, as you can see in this picture, all the giants are armed very differently. They've all got very different weapons. That rocket, there is some conversions in the picture shown, but I think what we might see is you might see certain weapons potentially have different rules, and so all these, like the club with the tombstone in it and the shard of warpstone, the skull, and maybe different heads will do different things. Maybe there'll be a shaman build or something like that, and I think that's where we're going to go for the Sons of Behemat, really. That the one kit is going to actually provide the whole army. I may be wrong. We might, if we're going to see a kit, I would think we're going to see hero kits maybe added to the army, but I don't really see much else being added. I think we're going to have different builds of the weapon options mean different things. Does this mean if you already own giants you might have to rebuild your giants to fit these? Potentially, but don't forget those giants already fit in a Gloomspike Gitz army. So it'd be interesting to see how we go about this. For me, I want this army to be not entirely low model count. I don't want it to be 5 models. I want this to be 10 models. 10 big models would be really cool. 10, 12 wound models is, I think, 8 to 12 10 wound models. 10, 12 wound models is, I think, where it's at. They're not going to be heavily armored, so they're not going to be hard to take down like some monsters we are commonly dealing with. They can hit pretty hard, but they're not going to be overwhelmingly smashy say the Crunchhorn and all that sort of stuff that we see on the table, Terrorgeist, etc. I think there's a lot of potential in this army that's going to be all monsters, and we've said we've got all monster armies that you can run now. You can run multiple Stonehorns. We know we've got the Stegodon build coming for Seraphon. There's obviously Gristlegore, Terrorgeist build, and heaps of armies can do the all monster build. Even Cities of Sigmar can do it with Charybdis and War Hydras and Black Dragons. But I think this is going to be interesting in that the army only has that build. Potentially, are we going to see units of giants in the army? That's another question to answer. Are we going to see the basic giants be able to travel in units, which would be quite cool and an interesting way, because you're going to have to balance that out, and issues with bravery and stuff like that for big higher model units is always an issue. Anyone who's run chariots or things like Mournfang Cavalry will tell you it can be quite dangerous having low bravery on big wound models in units. But yeah, I think that there's just really some interesting spaces we can explore. Hero wise, what do I expect to see? Well, we're definitely going to see some sort of Gargant King, I think, is probably the hero option, and maybe a shaman option or a priest option would be cool. If it's going to be its own army, it needs to have a certain amount of options, and so you're thinking maybe 3 or 4 different variations of giant king shaman characters, maybe prince or maybe like hunters or something like that. And like unit options, you're going to need to have a few as well. But we can get the unit options a lot easier with all the different weapon loadouts. Like if you remember, that kit actually did build back in old Warhammer Fantasy. It built the Chaos Gargant, it built the Slave Giant, built the Orcs and Goblins Giant, and then it also built the Dogs of War Giant. So there is the potential in there for multiple giants to be built with unique different parts to them. And so that's all I really want to say on this subject. Like, there's not a lot to say on this faction. I have high hopes for it. I'm really excited to see where they go with this faction. I'd like to hear your thoughts and your ideas on how and where you think we can go with this faction. Like, how do we make it competitive? How do we make it have a cool narrative background? Like, what is the narrative background going to be like? All we know that they are is just sons of Godbeast at the moment, and they're quite territorial. But like, what's happened to the Sons of Bahamut since we were first introduced there? Anyway, let me know all your thoughts and stuff down below, guys. I'd love to hear from you and hear what you have to say. So I'm going to wrap this up here. Thank you all for listening. You can find me at DadHammerNeo on Twitter. You can also find me on the Sinful Gaming Facebook page and on any of the group pages. I generally run most of them. And thank you all to our Patreons, and you can join our Patreon community at sinfulgaming.com/Patreon. So thank you all. See you all again real soon.